So if you have been interested in using artificial intelligence to write a book, then you need to pay attention, because if you do it wrong, you could lose your Amazon account. You could lose the opportunity to publish future books. Who knows? But we want to make sure that we do it right. Recently, a large AI publishing company was and is being investigated by the FTC. I'm not going to get into what the name is and the details of that. That's for you to find out. But the investigation, and apparently there may be other things, but at least part of the investigation, according to Business Insider, is because they have been flooding Amazon with AI-generated content. Vox.com did an article not long ago called "Amazon is filled with garbage ebooks. Here's how they get made." And they're getting made with artificial intelligence. They called it AI-generated slop. Now, I've been warning people about this for a long time, and I've been teaching what Amazon's terms of service are as related to AI. You guys know I do a regular weekly workshop on Manuscriptor, our software, and I talk specifically about what AI-generated content is versus AI-assisted content. So I want to spend just a few minutes, and I want to talk specifically about what Amazon's terms of service are surrounding AI and what AI-generated is, what versus what AI-assisted content is. And then I want to talk through piece by piece by piece what you can use AI for and how you should be using AI to supercharge your writing process. And you can use AI in a positive and constructive manner. Now, if you go to Google and you search Amazon's terms of service regarding AI, you'll find this. It's not difficult to find, but let me just go through at least parts or sections of this so that you understand specifically what Amazon is calling AI-generated versus AI-assisted content, okay? First, they want everyone to know that if you have AI-generated content, you publish a book with AI-generated content, you are required to disclose that to Amazon. Why do you think that is? It's because they don't want to continue to be flooded with AI-generated slop. And unfortunately, a lot of tools do that exact thing. I understand the desire to get a book written as fast as possible. But as I've said for a long time, the reality is AI cannot write your book in minutes. Until there's a chip planted by Elon or some other company into your brain to pull your stories out, to pull your specific ideas out, to pull your case studies out, then AI cannot write your book. What is it going to write? It's going to write some regurgitated slop, as was called by Vox.com, from somebody else's content or somebody else's story, and that is not what Amazon wants. Now, Amazon also specifies you are not required to disclose AI-assisted content. So the key is, what is the differentiation? So Amazon says very specifically in their terms of service, we define AI-generated content as text, images, or translations created by an AI-based tool, okay? It is considered AI-generated even if you apply substantial edits afterwards. In other words, if AI is creating it, if AI is writing it, and then you're going in and editing it, it's still AI-generated content, okay? So that order matters because AI-assisted is different, right? So it's literally one sentence. It's text, images, or translations from an AI tool. And if AI is creating it and then you're going back and editing it, that's still AI-generated content. Amazon doesn't really want that. Okay, now what is AI-assisted? AI-assisted is if you create the content yourself and then use AI-based tools to edit, refine, error check, etc., that's totally fine. Similarly, if you use an AI-based tool to brainstorm and generate ideas, but ultimately created the text and images, etc. yourself, this is also considered AI assisted and not AI generated. And we're going to get into the details of how you can exactly use this. And this is part of why, well, this is exactly why we developed Manuscriptor the way that we did, with the tools and the ability for you to even speak your own content, tell your own stories, tell your own case studies, because that's your content, and then have AI come in and edit it and clean it up and refine it for you. So as long as the order is you are the creator, you are the writer, you are the author, you are giving the content, and AI is coming in later, that's fine. More than that, you can use AI to generate ideas, to brainstorm ideas, to do research, etc. AI can do those things for you, okay? So really, really important. I recommend that you go back and look at Amazon's terms of service yourself. It's just a couple sentences. There isn't very much for you to look at, but go back, take a look at it, and let's make sure that we are doing it right when it comes to creating our content, okay? So let's take a few minutes, and now that we know, and it's really clear because it's just a couple of sentences, now that we know what AI generated versus AI assisted content is, let's talk a little bit about how you can use AI to supercharge your writing process, to write and edit and refine and use AI in a proper manner. As I said, when we developed Manuscriptor, the idea was to help authors in all of their sticking points. And we should know what those are because we've worked with thousands of authors at this point to help them to actually write their books, publish their books, and launch their books as bestsellers, okay? So we want to make sure that we help them in their sticking points, not write the content for them, okay? We don't want AI-generated content because Amazon doesn't want it, Barnes & Noble doesn't want it, and for goodness sakes, I mean, what consumer wants to have, 30 of 50 options for a book that they want to read that is really just AI-generated slop? It is not a great customer experience. It isn't good for anybody in the long run. And let me tell you, Amazon is going on the warpath with this stuff, and they should, because it's not a great customer experience. Okay, so let's talk about 9 areas that AI, and there's more, but let's talk about 9 basic areas where AI can actually help you write, help you create your book without it being AI-generated slop, okay? We don't want that. And I may use that word several times. Since Vox.com used it, I go, yeah, that is kind of what AI is doing, unfortunately, for a lot of people. And I understand the desire for speed, and I understand the desire for ease, but that's not your book, and that's AI-generated content, and no one wants that. Okay, so the first thing, number one, the first thing that we do when we have a writing client, okay? Somebody comes to us and writes us a very large check to help them with our enhanced ghostwriting process. The first thing we do is we look to narrow in who their ideal reader and audience is. We want to look to the demographics, the psychographics, okay? Who is this specific audience that they're trying to reach? And if you've ever worked with us in this process, you know we try to get as narrow as possible. And I try to force you to get as narrow as possible because when you're speaking really narrowly to your ideal clients, guess what happens? They hear you. They get you. They know you're talking to them, and they will respond. Most authors think, let's go really broad, and let's speak to a bunch of people because I want to sell a bunch of books. And the problem is when you try to speak to everybody, you end up speaking to nobody. So this kind of research takes time. Well, AI can do that for you. If you don't know much about your ideal client, AI can help you to really dial in the psychographics, the demographics, and help you to understand who your ideal reader is and who your ideal client is. Now, when we do that, number 2, from this, we want to know what problems does this person have? What concerns does this person have? What transformations does this person want around our given topic? Okay? So we do research, We figure out who the ideal client is, and then we think, okay, here's what I help with. What is the conversation that's going on in my reader's mind right now around this conversation? What are their specific problems? What are their specific concerns? What are the transformations they are looking for? AI can help you to determine that stuff. You know, sometimes you can work in a market for years and years and years, and then still not realize the conversation that's going on in your ideal client's head. This is something that you need to be thinking about. And if you haven't been trained and really dialed in understanding of marketing, AI can help you with that. We want to make sure that we speak to that ideal client and we show them what their transformations can be. We show them that we understand their problems, we understand their concerns. Now, from all of this, right, we're building, and AI can help with all of this. Number 3, from this information, we develop a hook. What is the hook going to be for this book? From that, the title, the subtitle, the outline of the book, right? The chapters. And when AI is programmed with rules to understand the dynamics of how to create a best-selling title, then it can help you to create all of these things. I've shared with you guys before, and I suggest you do this for yourself. Go and look up the top 100 nonfiction books of 2024, or go and look up the top X number of books in your specific category or in your specific genre. And you will see covers and titles that have similarities. If at any time you've ever looked at how, say, Hollywood creates a movie poster, you will see that almost all these movie posters in the various genres have themes to them. Why? Because they know how people respond. Well, guess what? When that information has been programmed into AI and it understands how to hook, create a title, create a subtitle, create a table of contents that really speaks to this ideal client that they've already done all the research on, man, that can supercharge your results. And in fact, in most cases, that can more than supercharge it. That can actually help you to get a great result from a book because you might have been going in a completely different direction when it comes to title, subtitle, table of contents, etc. And most authors, from my experience, don't really understand how to create those things, a title, a subtitle, a table of contents, so that their ideal clients love it. Most authors think, well, here's the story I want to tell, here's the information I want to get across. And I understand that your story and your case studies and all of that is the important part to you. But if we want to get it read, well, then we've got to make sure that we look first to our reader and ensure that we're communicating to them in a way that they get it, okay? So now this can take weeks if an author even knows what he or she is doing in the first place. Most don't, right? That's why people come to us to do all of this stuff. Most people think, well, you know, the guru said I just need to sit down and start writing and telling my story, and if I just, write 500 words a day or 1,000 words a day, I'm going to have a book. No, you're not. You're going to have 30,000 words after 30 days, but you're not going to have a book. You're going to have a bunch of words, not necessarily anything that really resonates with your ideal client. So we want to use AI to help us with that. You can have, and we have programmed our AI with specific rules to help our clients when it comes to creating a title, creating a subtitle, creating content so that it follows these rules and these dynamics, and it looks to ensure that we speak to who the ideal reader and client is, okay? Number 5, in the writing process, people want a shortcut. I understand that. They want AI to write it for them, but this is AI-generated content, right? We don't want that, and Amazon doesn't want that, and you don't want to risk your Amazon account. So how can AI help in the writing process then? Okay, so for those of you who use Manny and you understand how Manny or Manuscriptor works, you know that once the research is done on who the ideal client is and the pain points and the problems and the frustrations, and then that's used to create a great hook and a great title and a great subtitle and a great table of contents. Haven't even mentioned the mission statement or the specific avatar, which is really an important part of that, right? If you want your book to sell, focus on writing a book to one person. If you want a story or a blog post or a social media post to resonate, focus on writing it to one person, not to an audience, but to one person. That's part of the big reason why we want to create an audience avatar, a reader avatar for you in the first stages of the book. We want to give you one person that you're writing to, okay? I know I kind of skipped over that and moved on because I want to talk about the writing process itself, but there you go. That's another element that's really important. You need a specific person that you are writing to. Okay, so what are the points where authors tend to get stuck in the writing process? Well, oftentimes, you guys know we have, or I've certainly taught many times on our enhanced ghostwriting process. And for lack of a deeper explanation, it's creating every chapter similar to a great TED Talk, right? So the chapter has a story, the story has dramatic points in it, then there's an open loop, meaning that the story isn't culminated, right? We go from the story itself, what we believe, and what I've seen work over and over and over again is with every chapter, there are certain elements that are important to be expressed so that the content is compelling, it's captivating, it's interesting, and it is useful to the reader. Those pieces are similar to pieces you would find in a great TED Talk. You have a story that's told, and that story has moments of drama and a dramatic point. And then the story isn't culminated. There's an open loop left. And then there's teaching. We learned this, we did this, we found this, right? And then you can come back around, you can close that loop, etc. So all those elements are really important, but there's more to it than that. There's, okay, well, what are the specific points that I need to teach in a particular chapter so that I cover this particular content in a way that is really helpful to my ideal client? So we have found that authors often get stuck in a very simple way, which is what are the points? What should an outline look like for every particular chapter? Well, AI can help you with that. It can give you ideas. If your chapter is around a specific element, you guys know that we do this with Manny. You can click a button and Manny will give you our enhanced ghostwriting process with multiple points that you can make within a chapter. Points being, what topics of interest would need to be covered in this particular chapter so that the chapter is well-rounded. Now, you don't have to use those examples, and you can even ask Manny for additional ones, but we found that authors really get stuck here, and guess what? AI can help you with that. It can give you ideas. It can give you ideas for stories. It can give you ideas for anecdotes, and it certainly can give you a very, very good step-by-step, hey, here are the topics that you would want to cover in this particular chapter. So AI can help you in the writing process and in the content process by giving you ideas and helping you to get unstuck. This is still AI-assisted content. Okay. Now, many of you know that I wrote my book, Write with AI, in a very short period of time, and I've explained to you how I have done that, but let me explain it again in case you haven't heard that. It's actually very simple. You guys know that I do a lot of PowerPoint presentations. I do a lot of workshops. I enjoy speaking. I don't have a problem with speaking. And so what I decided to do when we created Manny, I specifically said, I want to make sure that there is a functionality within Manny where I can push a button and I can speak into a microphone, and that speaking will go from my voice to text, from speech to text. Now, that's nothing new, right? That's certainly nothing new when it comes to I think Dragon Naturally Speaking did that years and years and years ago. I don't think that's anything new. However, most AI writing tools do not have that because they're positioned completely opposite. They're positioned to create AI-generated content rather than AI-assisted content. I've tried to explain this to people, and maybe I haven't done a very good job at it, but when you're speaking, when you're telling your story, when you're teaching your magic, when I wrote Write with AI, all I did was use PowerPoint after PowerPoint presentation to teach various things like I'm doing right now. I spoke it, Manny captured it all, and then what could Manny do? The very things that Amazon says is totally fine. Manny can then take what I have created, my content, which is the spoken word, totally different than the written word, right? I speak in long run-on sentences, right? I haven't stopped yet. I've barely taken a breath. Well, no one wants to read it like that. They want to read short, punchy sentences, real introductions, real conclusions, bullet points, etc. Well, Manny can help you to take that content, you telling your story, you explaining your case study, you teaching from your PowerPoint slide, etc., and simply copying and pasting. It will edit that content and maintain your voice. For Amazon, that's AI-assisted content. They're happy with that. That's your content. That's not AI's regurgitated slop, okay? That's AI generated, which we do not want. So when we created our enhanced ghostwriting process, we created it in such a way that our authors could meet with a writer, a ghostwriter, could speak their story, could do it in this process, and then the writer, of course, would actually have to go back, transcribe it all or have it transcribed, and then actually do the rewrite. Well, AI can help you with that. AI can do the edits, do the rewrites, do the cleanup, etc. So there's many ways that you can write a book very, very fast using AI so that it is AI-assisted content, not AI-generated content. I didn't even go into great depth on using AI to help you to find anecdotes or to help you to find stories revolving around your content. That's another way. If you don't have a case study, if you don't have a anecdote or a story from your own life, AI can help you to find that. Now, sometimes you need to do a little additional research, and you don't want AI to write it for you. You still want to be the one to write it, but you can do that with AI's help. All of that is AI-assisted content, not AI-generated. So I understand the temptation. I see all the ads. In fact, I've shared this without ego. I don't know if there are other tools like ours. I know that our tool is not the easiest tool to use because it requires the author to write. It still requires you to create. I understand that. And I know that people want an easy button. They want the easiest, fastest way to create content. Well, you may want that as an author, but the reader doesn't want that. The Amazon publishing platform, the Barnes & Noble publishing platform doesn't want that. And more than ever, they're going after people that are creating that. So resist the temptation, which I believe you have, but resist the temptation. Don't look to get AI to create for you. Instead, get AI to help you overcome every sticking point, to make sure that you're communicating your message incredibly clearly, and to edit, refine, give story ideas, anecdotes, help to outline your chapters, etc., etc. You get the idea. I don't want to beat a dead horse.